Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Come on. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Good morning, you beautiful people, and a great big welcome back to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook. My name is Laura Lesh, and I am truly honored to be serving as your worship associate this morning with our beloved minister, the Reverend Margie Allen, for this, our annual homecoming service. Our Director of Religious Education is Deb Little, who is currently outside in Julia's garden with the children and their teachers. Homecoming is our traditional ingathering service, which begins our worship year. We were delayed a few weeks this year while we completed the necessary technology upgrade, but here we are, gathering from two different sanctuary platforms, our virtual platform on YouTube and our brick and mortar home here at 380 Nichols Road in East Setauket, New York. The path to this moment was one we needed to blaze. It took the pressure of pandemic conditions, the deep dedication of many core leaders of our fellowship, and many new volunteers as well to make it happen. The experience on both platforms is still under construction and will be for a while. As you may remember from our spring 2020 shift to virtual-only services, it takes some time to stabilize the platform and then build into its unique creative potential. So please hang in there with us. I want to offer a most special welcome to any newcomers. We are really happy that you are here. Our services do vary from week to week, so please return several times in order to get to know us as a community of faith. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religion with no creed you must accept to belong here. We are united by our 7 principles and guided by our 6 sources, all of which you can learn about at our website, UUFSB.org, or on our denominational website at UUA.org. We are a congregation of seekers who have come from a variety of faith traditions, and we welcome others of all ages and identities who are searching for a spiritual home. We hope our in-person attendees will stay for our tailgate social time following the service, a time of meeting and greeting each other in the fellowship parking lot. There's no way to do this on YouTube, but those who have watched the live stream and the rest of you after tailgating are invited to click the link on our UUFSB.org webpage or this week's newsfeed for small group chats. Parking lot or Zoom room, you will find plenty of friendly folks who will be able to answer any questions you may have. In the interest of keeping all of us here in the UUF building safe, please keep your masks on while inside unless speaking from the pulpit, and hum rather than sing along with the hymns. The only people singing will be the dedicated musicians. And now is the time to silence those cell phones. For those viewing the live stream, you'll find the link to your order of service in this week's newsfeed, on our website, and in the YouTube chat, along with the words to the hymn. So welcome to you all. And from the entire worship team, we hope you will find our time together spiritual, inspirational, and enlightening.
So the bell that welcomes us into the spirit of worship this morning is the bell I sounded in my family's kitchen for the last year and a bit at the beginning of the virtual services that I led. This is a Buddhist bell made in Nepal. Our service this morning will close with the sounding of the cast iron bell that has lived right here in its Nichols Road Sanctuary for decades and has now been silent for almost 2 years. As we cross the threshold into sacred time and space this morning, we mark also a transition in the reach, capacity, and complexity of our ministry together. All we are still sounds in all we will be and will become.
Stevenson will please come forward. She is one of our 3 essential deep tech team members whose countless hours in the past few months have made today possible, along with the work of many others, too numerous to be named. I invite all of you at home to light a chalice or a candle of your own as I read these words of acknowledgement about the land our fellowship occupies. The congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook honors the indigenous people whose traditional and ancestral land included the acres we claim as ours today. We recognize the Sitalkat people from whom this territory was stolen incrementally through grossly inequitable, opaque, and duplicitous exchanges between 1655 and 1662. Their descendants live on today as the Sitalkat Nation. Among them are neighbors residing in Setauket's Bethel Christian Avenue, Laurel Hill Historic District. We acknowledge the ancestors and survivors of this place, and we realize as we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. We honor their legacy, their lives, and their descendants who carry on tribal traditions for present and future generations. We devote this light to our growing recognition of our responsibility to mitigate suffering of the past and prevent it in the future.
Thanks, Denise and Laura. Homecoming since 2010 and before the pandemic has meant to us a ritual reoccupation of this brick and mortar sanctuary, our first step into a new congregational year. On those Sundays, we gathered on the green behind me, usually in specific costumes or colors. We sounded the bell, we sang and laughed and made a picture of us all together. They're on the walls right now. Sylvia Kirk and I hung them yesterday. Then we processed, singing, around the side of the building and through the foyer doors here. And when enough of us had arrived, we switched to a hymn of joyful entry like, "Enter, rejoice, and come in, which you heard as our prelude this morning. Last year, you may remember, an intrepid cadre of adorable stuffed animals, long loved by their adult and child companions, led our traditional homecoming service from inside this sanctuary because human UUs were only able to safely attend virtually. We watched on our screens as these stuffed animals gathered on the green, processed around the side of the building, entered in the foyer doors, took their seats where you were sitting, and began the service with the bell and the chalice lighting. And now, this morning, this intrepid cadre of adorable, fully vaccinated adults, screened, masked, and distanced, is pleased to represent our larger membership by welcoming in actual person, in our actual sanctuary, after 19 months of silent Sundays, a new era of COVID-inspired dual platform worship. Here they are. I'm hoping we can pan behind. Oh, it looks like we can. Waving their hands, their newly sanitized hands, and smiling with their eyes. What wondrous love is this that brings us to this moment in the history of our fellowship? Love makes a sanctuary. Please join in singing, virtual friends, and in humming Nichols' 381 Friends, our opening hymn, number 18 in our hymnal, What Wondrous Love. Maureen Shaman, in her own beautiful person, leads us in singing and humming. Bethany Riddle and Dorothea Cook accompany on piano and violin. I invite us to remain seated for hymns this morning. Could you hear yourself humming and singing? I invite you now to settle with me for a time of meditation, of prayer, reflection, a few words to take with you into the luxury of silence, and a Taizé song in Spanish from which to launch yourself into that silence. A bell to send you in, and a bell to invite you back. Since 2012, the communion theme of our annual homecoming service has focused in rotation on the 4 elemental substances recognized in many of our earth-based traditions. Air, often associated with east, fire, a characteristic of south, water in the west, and earth in the north. This year, we join for water communion. The element of water tends to be connected to our body's response to life's gifts and pressures, to emotions and feelings, to flow, to change, to adaptation and persistence in meeting barriers. But also, in the deepest embodied sense, we come to this September terribly thirsty. Thirsty for 100 things that a pandemic world has held at bay, 100 things without which our lives can contract, lose their sheen, and our capacity for love and joy diminish. For what do you thirst right now, at the beginning of fall and a new year among your UU friends? For what do you thirst in the midst of the still opaque unfolding of this pandemic? Lee Morris and Bethany Riddle lead us in the repeated verse from which we fall into silence. Lee sings the verse in Spanish. Here's the English translation. By night, we hastened in darkness to search for living water. Only our thirst leads us onward. Only our thirst leads us onward. De Noche, number 1034 in our teal hymnal.
Solo la
At each worship service, we participate in the spiritual practice of generosity with a collection we share with an organization working for social justice. Last month, our world experienced a number of natural disasters, and out of a profound sense of wanting to be of help to those who have been devastated, we decided to split our social justice donations in September between two organizations who are on site and working to provide relief in the short term and advocacy for environmental justice in the long term, with two areas which were especially hard hit. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee Emergency Relief Fund has pre-positioned disaster relief in order to respond quickly to the damage due to extreme weather in Louisiana and the surrounding areas. While committing resources to address the short-term aspects of the storm, they also will advocate to, in solidarity with local communities, to change systems and promote environmental justice. Partners in Health is a healthcare organization which has been participating with local communities in Haiti for over 30 years. They are uniquely situated to respond to the earthquake and hurricane crises which have caused so much damage and pain there this year. As we pass our new pandemic-safe collection plates to take your donations here in the sanctuary, information on how to donate is being shown online now, and there is a link in the chat box which will take you to the donate button on our webpage. Please give as generously as you are able to these two organizations as you enjoy this original water music by our esteemed music director Dan Weymouth, accompanied by Dee Dee Cook and Peter Winkler. Thank you to our musicians, and mostly to all of you.
As sort of a mic check, I wanted to go off script a little bit and give a special thanks to Rich Hall and Linda Cortese. Those in the sanctuary, if you look up, you'll see two cameras which are broadcasting us. Those at home, you're seeing the cameras from the other side. Rich and Linda spent about 50 hours for real in the past 2 weeks getting this set up. So a special thanks to them. In the wilderness. Oh yes, let's clap for them. Go ahead. I've been in the wilderness, it seems like 40 years, or maybe a year and a half, longing for water, cool and sweet and clear. Met a band of wanderers, they tell me that it's near. Everybody's thirsty, come down to the water. Everybody's thirsty. Men in robes will tell you that they own the stream. Just move yourself upriver, their power is a dream. You can hold a mouthful in a trembling hand, but if you make a fist, not a drop can remain. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Come to the water and live. Doesn't matter with a bowl or a cup, with a bowl or a bucket, you can lift it up. It doesn't matter if you feel or if you think. When you are parched, all you have to do is drink. 'Cause everybody's thirsty, come down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Come to the water and live. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Everybody's thirsty, come on down to the water. Come to the water and live. Come to the water and live. Come to the water and live.
So on a small table here at the foot of the pulpit, we have an empty bowl and a pitcher of water. Folks seated here in the sanctuary with me have brought a small bit of water in a container, hopefully, from a source near or far that is dear to them. And our friends who are live streaming, hopefully, each have a glass of water within reach. And if you don't, run get one now. This is the setting for our water communion. In a moment, I'll ask the people here in this room to bring their water to the bowl, one at a time in procession, 6 feet apart, and pour their water from the back into the bowl. And as each person here adds water to the bowl, I'll ask those who are watching on their screen to take a tiny sip from their glass. Okay? Some of us pour water from our own vessels into a common bowl. Some of us sip from our own vessels water we have collected from a common source. Regardless of where our actual bodies are located in this moment, we are part of this ebb and flow, this constant giving and receiving from sources held in common and from individual hearts and minds, of life, of energy, of nourishment, of wisdom, of meaning, messages, inspiration, gratitude, comfort, challenge. The nature of this flow is sacred because all life thrives when the cycle of offering and accepting is complete, and the flow through and between and among our bodies generous and balanced and sufficient. As you here pour and you there sip, as we imagine or remember how our own thirst has been or might be quenched, Laura and I will name some things many may be thirsty for as we head towards the close of our second year in pandemic conditions and into a new set of opportunities and challenges here in our fellowship. As in the refrain of Dan's beautiful song, everybody's thirsty. Come on down to the water. Come to the water and live. So let us begin row by row here and one by one where you watch on a screen, and a little quiet music to accompany our water communion. For what have we thirsted? For what do we still thirst?
For the embrace of friends and family for whom we have been long separated.
For the freedom to travel without fear of catching or spreading the virus.
For a convivial meal out on a busy restaurant.
For a trip into the city for an adventure or a show, or in this case, a grandchild.
For the quick, complete recovery of people we love who fall ill.
For the vaccines to be approved, delivered, universal, and effective.
For reluctant others to choose to protect themselves and us by following pandemic protocols.
This is perfect for you, Francis. For presidents of the United States to open national conversations about race without inciting insurrections.
For compassion in governance.
For this pain to stop.
For the opportunity to mourn our dead in one another's company.
For saying goodbye in person to a dying loved one in the hospital.
For science to regain its status as a reliable guide to right action.
For the global will to attend to the needs of the most vulnerable nations in a pandemic.
For immediate, substantial steps on the international scale to address climate change.
For effective response to migration issues driven by war and poverty and natural disasters.
For treatment, healing, and recovery for ourselves or a loved one.
For the first opportunity to greet a newborn grandchild.
For sunshine, for rain, for an adventure in the natural world.
For kids to go back to school under the safest conditions.
For return to working again in person, in the office, with colleagues.
For the continued ability to work from home.
For Sunday mornings all together in our fellowship building.
Woo! For the ability to continue to attend Sunday service in pajamas from the couch.
For this episode in history to be over, way over, done, completely finished.
For summer, for snow, for flowers and garden vegetables, for the tree not to hit the house, for autumn and new beginnings.
For a Christmas Eve in person here and a candle in every hand.
For Christmas Eve in person here and a candle in every hand. For peace, prosperity, joy, health, and happiness for us, for all. Amen, and blessed be. Thank you all.
Our reading this morning comes from Margaret Silf in 100 Wisdom Stories from Around the World. High in a far-off mountain, a little stream sprang from its hidden source. It flowed down the mountainside through all kinds of different terrain, sometimes leaping and bubbling, sometimes drifting lazily or going underground, but it was never stopped by any obstacle that might have gotten in its way. One day, it reached the edge of a vast desert. Nothing has ever stopped me flowing, it thought to itself, and I shall surely overcome this obstacle too. And so the stream flung itself at the desert. But each time it did so, its water simply disappeared, trickling away into nothingness, swallowed up by the dry sand. But the stream was not to be deterred. And so began a conversation between the stream and the desert sand. I know I must cross this desert, the stream told the sand, but no matter how hard I fling myself at the sand, it just swallows me up. The desert replied, you won't be able to cross the desert using methods that worked in the mountains. You will simply disappear or turn into marshland. No, you must trust the wind to carry you across the desert. You must let yourself be carried. The stream asked in disbelief, how can the wind carry me across the desert? You must let yourself be absorbed into the wind, and then the wind will carry you, the desert replied. But the stream didn't like this idea. It didn't at all want to lose itself by being absorbed into the wind. If you let yourself be absorbed by the wind, it will carry you across the desert and let you fall again on the other side to be a stream again, the desert sand explained. The stream wasn't convinced. But I won't be the same stream that I am now. I won't be this particular stream. You certainly won't be the same stream you are now if you fling yourself into the sand and turn into a marsh, the desert said. But if you let the wind carry you across the desert, the real heart of you, the essence of everything you truly are, will be born again on the other side, to flow a new course, to be a river that you can't even imagine being at this moment. The stream thought for a while, and a faint memory arose of a wind that could be trusted, and a horizon that was always out of reach, but was always a new beginning. So the stream let go and surrendered to the power of the wind. The wind raised up the vapor of the little stream and carried it in strong and loving arms far beyond the horizon, high over the hot desert sand, and let it fall again softly at the top of a new mountain far away. And the stream sensed its essence present still within the transformation and gave itself happily to its course down the mountainside.
The fall of the year is a traditional time for recognizing the phenomenon of shape-shifting. Certainly at Halloween, we formally acknowledge that the children who come to our doors are not themselves, at least for the moment. The trees also dramatically change shape as their leaves take on color and fall. Some things in life shape-shift on a schedule like that cyclically in the course of the year. Other changes happen quickly or more slowly on an episodic basis. We're going through an episode, in case you hadn't noticed, and our shape has shifted. My shape, for instance, and perhaps some of yours, has shifted toward the heavier and more fleshy and ungainly, as stress eating and couch potatoing and that COVID fog gradually replace my healthier routines. On a larger scale, the shape of our worship and other gatherings has shifted from actual to virtual and is now in the early process of shifting back to a new, altered normal. To the outside eye, that shape-shifting just happened all of a sudden, but those on the inside know that changes like that actually require a conceptual and an energetic leap in order to unfold towards something other than chaos and loss. The worship team and the deep tech team could, like the stream in the story, have continued to hurl themselves against the new barriers using the old methods. But eventually, we would all have been bettered by this relentless drain on our energy. Instead, we saw pandemic conditions as an opportunity, forced as it was, to shape shift, to become the congregation we needed to be in a world undergoing radical change. We decided to let go of shapes and ways and patterns we knew and trusted, and to let ourselves be carried toward the next right thing, and there to be disassembled and reassembled in a radically different shape in the process. That leap took courage in all its forms. Being in pieces is scary. Now, if we think of time and change as a river, we can see the sort of craziness we're going through as a section of shake-em-up rapids, a few miles of turbulent water and danger. No matter how you show up in the still water at the end, exhausted in your boat or wet and battered from surfing feet first down the river in your life jacket, you are changed by that ride. Neither you nor your canoe may have changed shape, but inside the you were has changed. Your being in the world has shifted. You are no longer the you were at the top of the rapids. Some people think of God as the troubler of waters. You'll hear Claudia and company soon sing as our postlude the African-American spiritual wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. God's going to trouble the water. God, or maybe you'd prefer to use another name, maybe life in the process of being continuously created and recreated better. It's one of my favorite names for God. God troubles the water not to destroy, but to create a path to reinvention, to evolution, to beloved community. In the turmoil is upset and coming apart and pain and tiredness and grasping, but also in the turmoil is opportunity and creativity, clarity, vision, energy to spare, and friends and all the stuff we need to get to the next right place we need to be. Harriet Tubman used the song Wade in the Water to signal to those she was guiding to freedom that they must now, at this very moment right now, leave the path and walk into the water, walk up the stream where the dogs would not be able to pick up their scent as easily. The path to freedom required a shifting of shape for them. The stream took them in and made them invisible. The water we watch circulate in our communion is the river of life we navigate together in miniature. It represents our connection, our challenges, our desire, the perpetual flow of energy to which we have access, and the medicine we can gather to heal any wound sustained along the way. Indigenous peoples everywhere understand that water is sacred, and we know it too. Perhaps you felt it in the pouring and in the sipping. Our closing hymn is, per tradition, the very first hymn in Singing the Living Tradition, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. This morning it is easier than ever to imagine what clear and present danger might be haunting our doors. Although we have taken every precaution to keep the COVID virus and its cousins from taking to the air in this space, we know we each take a small risk in gathering here. May our courage take our faith down to the bone and out into the world. May our care and caution, our courage and creative instincts keep us all safe as we need to be in perilous times. And may we always be willing to take the risk to shapeshift in the process. Linda Cortese and Bethany again will lead us in singing and humming. We will pause the music at the end of each verse for additional words of prayer. Please hum along.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by.
Whatever it is that enters these rooms this year, may this community honor its importance and its impact, offer care to one another as we come to understand its meaning, and do what we can to direct the energy it creates towards the good.
By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This heart, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm.
May these rooms always, always, every day and night serve as a place of refuge for people who are weary and afraid, a place of comfort for people who grieve heavy losses, a place of compassion for those who are rejected and misunderstood elsewhere in their lives, a welcome table for those who hunger and thirst for companions on the never-ending search for truth and meaning.
We shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every
May these rooms hold the blessing of peace and hope for all who enter. May the peace we cultivate together here take root and spread in all the other rooms of our lives. May we become, know, and teach peace. May we become finely honed instruments of peace in the world.
With laughter drown the rock of shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
May love sustain us all when we are gathered here and when we are apart. May our celebrations and our grieving be real and deep, the sisters' joy and sorrow, our best teachers. May what we learn about life in the struggle and the power open the conduits between us through which the current called love runs. And may this love meet the hate we confront in ourselves and others and overcome it. Amen. Our closing words are a passage in Hermann Hesse's wonderful book, Siddhartha, a story of the making of a Buddha that speaks to the idea of the river as a teacher about the nature of the holy. This is from the chapter called The Ferryman, in which Siddhartha meets for the second time a wise man at the river's edge. Vasudeva said to Siddhartha, "Look, I'm no scholar. I do not understand how to speak, nor do I understand how to think. All I know how to do is to listen and to be pious. More than that, I have never learned. If I could say it and teach it, perhaps I would be a sage, but as it is, I'm only a ferryman, and my task is to take people across this river. I've taken many across, thousands, and for all of them, my river has meant nothing but an obstacle on their travels. For some among those thousands, however, just a few, 4 or 5, the river ceased to be an obstacle. They heard its voice, they listened to it, and the river became holy for them, as it has become for me." And Siddhartha said, "Is it not true, O friend? The river has many voices, very many voices. Does it not have the voice of a king, and of a warrior, and of a bull, and of a night bird, and of a woman in labor, and of a man sighing, and 1,000 other voices as well?" "It is so," Vasudeva nodded. "The voices of all creatures are in its voice." "And do you know," Siddhartha continued, "what word it speaks when you succeed in hearing all its 10,000 voices at once?" Vasudeva's face laughed happily. He leaned over to Siddhartha and pronounced in his ear the sacred Om. From Peter Mayer, his song, God is a River, has this verse. God is a river, not just a stone. God is a wild, raging rapids and a slow, meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage and a peaceful, sandy shoal. God is the river swimmer. Let go.
God's gonna trouble the water. joy.